Scaling happens outside the ad account. That's why in this episode we're joined by Carl Weische, who talked CRO. How to do CRO, what are the best tests you need to try, and everything around that. So let's dive right into the episode. Hey, what's up everyone? Today we're joined by Carl Weische. He runs Accelerated Agency and they do CRO for a lot of big names like Davie, Fogarty, Drippy, and Amsterdam, and a bunch more. I'm sure you can go to their site and check them out. Happy to have you here, Carl.
Pleasure to be here, guys. Really excited.
Sweet. So let's not waste any time. Let's dive into the call. So we're going to be talking about CRO. Let's give the listeners a quick overview for why they should be doing CRO, what is CRO, and how that can help them.
Sweet. The best introduction I can give to CRO is basically understanding what your customers need and then give it to them on the website. So I like to dissect this into the ad performance and the website performance, and you can think of CRO as optimizing the website performance. So basically what CRO does, it increases your conversion rate and your average order value so that your traffic that you're pushing to the website will get you more revenue and more profit.
Sweet. So let's say if I own a brand, when should I be looking at optimizing my off ads metrics? So when should I be looking at optimizing CRO?
I think the foundations of CRO, you should start in the beginning because there's a lot of stuff that needs 20% of the effort, 20% input, but they will get you 80% of the output. I'm talking about product market fit, offer, and messaging, right? Those are the 20% in the beginning, but you don't need to do crazy UX, UI changes or copywriting changes on your website, but just the basics that will get you the great results. And that's what you should be starting in the beginning. And then as soon as you hit something like 100K, 150K in revenue, that's where you should start moving forward into the higher level CRO stuff and A/B testing, macro and micro changes to your page.
Yeah, sweet. One thing I remember from the speeches you've done, the perception I previously had with CRO was you'd test two completely different landing pages, or let's say compare your product page to, I don't know, a custom built landing page or an advertorial to see which would perform better. But a lot of changes you make, they're relatively smaller, but they have major impact. So maybe you can run us through, let's say I'm an e-commerce store owner, I'm doing 150K a month. What should be the easy tests I can do on my own and where I can improve my conversion rate, where I should be looking?
Great question. So in the beginning, what I like to do basically is laying down a strategy individually for a store. So this all starts with understanding your customer and who you're selling to and basically how they are interacting with your store and also what's motivating them. You can take a lot of what you're doing in the marketing, so basically understanding their pain points, their beliefs, their desires and their motives, and then apply it to the store. I see a lot of people, they are actually great marketers and then they run crazy high quality traffic to the store and they have ads that are really great at grabbing attention because they understand the target audience so well, but then they don't do the same stuff on the store, right? They don't put so much effort into the messaging and into the offer and the design and everything to then convert the attention that they're getting from the marketing into people actually buying from them. So this is what I like to do in the beginning. So setting up tools like Google Analytics and Hotjar, just to visually see where they're clicking, where they're scrolling, where they're spending time on the page, what's the customer journey throughout the pages. So maybe you're pushing the traffic to a landing page, then they're going to the product page, but then they're dropping off to the home page because they need more information about you as the brand and the story behind the brand, and then they will go and buy. Right? So you can individually understand and analyze the customer journey that your target audience has while purchasing from your store. And then next step would be to jump into it and optimize all the different steps into the customer journey. So this is what we like to do in the beginning to analyze, because this is individual for each store, analyze it for one individual store, understand your buyer persona, what is motivating them, what are the pain points, what are the beliefs, and what do they want to achieve from buying this product. And then we will basically think about tests that we can run, which are tied to this, right? A lot of stuff that can be done is mostly tied into increasing trust that they have in your store, right? Something like trust badges, something like store benefits, something like social proof, testimonials, everything that's playing into you creating more trust as a brand. That's always really huge and a quick win. What I also see is improving your messaging, copywriting, and value proposition. This is a lot of stuff that we like to do in the beginning. So basically, jump into message mining, customer surveys, analyzing reviews, and then based on this, take exactly what they are saying and put it into your value proposition. So I say this all the time to store owners. This is so easy to do. Export all the reviews that you have and all the customer feedback and testimonials, put it into a huge spreadsheet, and then you maybe have 10,000 reviews and 10,000 answers. And then you can just read through the first couple ones and see words. Something like comfort, high quality, and great sleep, right? And then you just pick the first words, and then you basically search in this document how many times people have been searching for those. And then you take the words that people are using the most to describe why they're buying the product, right? And then you're basically just taking these words and putting them on the landing page, product page, and everywhere. And then you will optimize the messaging, and you will also increase how this messaging is resonating with your customers. Because now you're using exactly the words that they would be using to describe what they feel and what they think. And then it's resonating so much more, and you're so much more likely to actually convert them than when you would be talking about it from like your perspective. So the basics are, as I said in the beginning, offer, product market fit, and messaging. And the first tests that I would be running are conceptualized around increasing motivation, increasing the trust, and increasing the value proposition, copywriting in general. And after having done all of this work, you then move on into like the smaller nitty-gritty stuff. Something like, quick example, are reducing the friction that they have in the checkout process by giving them small dopamine hits by showing like green check marks whenever they fill in a form, right? Just like really, really small nitty-gritty stuff that at the end of the day will give them like a nudge and will give them a push to go through the checkout. But that's like really high level, really nitty-gritty stuff at the end of your CRO journey. So in the beginning, we rather focus on like these big needle movers.
Mm-hmm. Here, maybe like a quick question from my side, like in terms of like these CRO tests, CRO changes, like how evergreen are they? Let's say you run a test in terms of like improving the conversion rate on like a certain product page, you get the winner of the test. Like, is it gonna stay that forever, or are there like some retests you have to do after a while?
So the thing with CRO A/B testing and the whole statistical significance behind it is that, let's say, just to like break this concept down really quickly, whenever you test, you for example test something for a period of 4 weeks, and then you get data of, let's say, 100,000 users and 5,000 orders, right? So you have like a huge amount of data. And then you can apply statistics to it and calculate how significant this result is now. And then, for example, you would have a statistical significance of 99%. And this basically means that with a probability of 99%, when we now take this change, implement it to the store, for the next 6 to 12 months, it will be performing better with the result that it did while we tested it. And then you have a 1% chance for how do you call it? Like failure, right? And then after 6 to 12 months, slowly the target audience gets used to it, to seeing it, and then the effect depletes like a little bit. So that's kind of like the lifetime of changes, like when you're doing them to store, of how long and how valid these changes are being made. The higher the statistical significance that you're going for, obviously the higher is the probability that it's working for longer and working with like a really, really small potential for failure. But that's kind of like the time frames that you're looking at in testing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it is also like an ongoing process, not like a one and done thing that you basically run through like a CRO process from A to Z, and it's gonna stay like that forever. There is some ongoing work as well. Interesting. Cool.
You can think of it as like the creatives and ad sets, right? We A/B test a creative, we have 2 different ad sets, and then we just compare the KPIs. And that's what you're doing on a website. When you do certain creatives and then you may run an ad set for like 6 to 12 months, at some point, obviously respective to the platforms, TikTok has a faster creative fatigue than Facebook or YouTube or whatever. You will have like a certain time frame where you can run a certain creative, and at some point it will slowly deplete in the results. And that's the same thing with like stuff that you apply and implement to the store. And also we see this with like stores, they think, whatever, they had a scale of 500K a month, And then we do a lot of changes with them, and then they're like, okay, now we should have done enough changes. But then they scale, and then, for example, the traffic composition changes from 80% Facebook and 20% Google to 50 Facebook, 20 Google, and 30 TikTok. So you have a completely different target audience coming onto the store now, and also the store is now at a 1 million per month scale. So everything basically changes because the traffic is different, the way that they interact with the store and navigate through the store is different, and also how you talk to them. So at certain stages, I would also suggest using different landing pages for the different traffic sources that you have. Obviously, when you're at the scale where it makes sense to put the effort and time and resources into getting out these different landing pages. Because what I like to say is, for example, for TikTok traffic, needs to be a lot more easy digestible, short form copy, really visual, a lot of imagery, right? Instead, for the Google retargeting traffic, when they're putting in the keyword and they are purchase ready, then you can hit them with like more copy, longer copy, less imagery, less visual and crazy animations, because they have a higher attention span. So it's really different from like what kind of traffic channels are you pushing to the page now, and also what demographic and how the audience maybe changes.
Gotcha. Good. So then, a question I wanted to ask: when you're doing conversion rate optimization, I like my assumption with this as well. It's not just looking at the conversion rate and just increasing that. There's also AOV that comes into play. Possibly sometimes LTV. I think LTV is more important for subscription brands. To keep it simple, I want to figure out how do you balance. I'll kind of call it a triangle of CRO. Between increasing AOV and increasing like click-through rate. Are there sometimes cases where you prioritize AOV but lower, conversion rate on the site, or vice versa?
Yes, this is also based on the brand strategy. So the three most important metrics that we like to look at are conversion rate, average order value, and revenue per user. Revenue per user is also a really interesting metric because it basically means how profitable is the traffic that you're pushing to the store. So we're not essentially increasing the revenue, but we're rather making the traffic more profitable. So this is based on the brand strategy. Right now we have some brands, due to the recession, is they don't want to scale up and get more revenue, but rather they want to stay at the same revenue level, but they want to make their traffic and their margin higher to get more profit. So really individual based on the brand strategy on what to focus on for. To give you one example, we just tested it where we had different bundles for a product, and then we pre-selected the highest priced bundle, right? And A/B tested it. And the variant had a 1% lower conversion rate, but an uplift in average order value of 20%. So you have a little bit less orders, but then all the orders you're doing are having such a higher average order value and are such more profitable for you as the brand. So this is hard to generalize, but really rather individual to the brand strategy. But to come back to your question, there are cases where we prioritize the small decrease in conversion rate, but then we have a higher average order value or higher revenue per user over the test where we maybe not have a change in the revenue per user and average order value, but a slight increase in conversion rate.
If you run an e-commerce store and you're looking to generate more revenue with email and SMS marketing, go to agencyjr.com/call to book in a free call with us. That's agency, J as in Jacob, R as in Rainus, .com/call. And let's talk to see if and how we can help. So you have a lot of access to brands who, test and run a lot of different landing pages. Like one of the suggestions you made was not from like a conversion rate level, but the way you structure your business is for each traffic channel, you can have a different landing page. What are the other like big macro changes brands could do that could improve their sales? So one of them, for example, if we get tactical, I've heard, for example, Sufyan from Ad Talk, them like he talking about creating, the 5 reasons why advertorial on TikTok and running through, for example, traffic to do that. What do you see as the macro changes in landing pages that are successful for brands?
So I think the biggest macro change is to understand what funnel is working for what traffic channel. So I would test different funnels, whether it be the 5 reasons why listicle to product page, or whether it be landing page to product page, or whether it be landing page direct to checkout, or whether it be advertorial to landing page to checkout, right? So there are a lot of different funnels and where you can be pushing traffic to, or you're pushing traffic directly to the collection page or product page. So I would test out all of these for the different traffic channel and then go with the one that's performing the best, and then start to putting more effort into this. Because in the beginning, we have to understand like which funnel is working the best. Maybe your listicle to landing page funnel has a 5% conversion rate, and then the advertorial to the landing page funnel has a 3% conversion rate. So I don't necessarily want to put the efforts into the 3% one and try to get it up to the 5%, but rather directly start with the 5% one, push all the traffic there, and then start increasing this conversion rate and all the efforts onto this funnel. So first step, the macro step, would be testing out the different funnels. And then second step would be go with the funnel that's working the best, and then start doing some more minor changes. Best for the listicle, for example, and I told this to JV Coffee, for example, you have these 5 reasons why. Same with the value proposition. Start going into your customer research and start digging through like all of the answers, and then understand what reasons do they have for buying the product. So not that you are talking about 5 benefits and you're just giving that away, but you're basically taking their words and putting it into these 5 benefits, and then you can A/B test this. So this, for example, would be a great test for listicle. Try out 5 different reasons why and base them on customer research or message mining. Another thing, a big thing, could be testing different offers. Right? So different bundles, different subscription models, different pricing. This will also be a huge one. And then obviously from the listicle, next step would be the product page. Test the above the fold of the product page. So in the first step, you want to increase the click-through rate from the listicle to the product page. And then product page, you could be doing all the offer testing, again, a little bit of copywriting, but those are rather the big picture ones and not like the small ones like trust badges, store benefits, announcement bar, or whatever.
So to simplify, it's basically testing different styles of landing pages, testing different offers, product photos, and doing research with the customer to understand the terms and the words they use. So then you can integrate them within the landing pages.
Yeah.
Sweet. Sounds good. Then the last question to wrap up the CRO side of things is, what are the biggest CRO mistakes you see brands make?
Great question. I think a lot of brands and also agencies do this, that they think that they are A/B testing something, but then they don't have a lot of data and then they just go with it. Think of it as having 2 ad sets and each has 100 clicks, and the first one has 5 sales and the second one has 7 sales, and then you decide to completely scale up the one with the 7 sales because it had more. And this is what a lot of brands and agencies even are doing for clients or on the store, that they have tests running for a week and then they have 1,000 users and like 100 orders. And this is like not statistically significant at all. It may look good in the Google Analytics screenshots because you can just skew the data and turn it around and say, hey, we had a crazy change and increase the conversion rate like crazy. But when you would actually take this data, put it into a statistical significance calculator, it would tell you to run it for like 3 or 4 weeks. It would tell you that you need like 50,000 users and like thousands of conversion in this test to be significant. And this is really dangerous because if you're taking the data and skew it and then implement the changes to the page, it could actually decrease conversion rate, right? Because you've just tested it, let's say, for a week, and maybe now due to seasonality, change in ads, whatever, luck, it worked better, and then you're implementing it to the page, but then it decreases the performance. So this is like one of the biggest mistakes. And then second biggest mistakes, I would say, is trying to copy other brands or other tests or other changes that other brands are doing. Because let's say your brand is selling skincare product for women, and then you're copying of a high converting store that is selling shirts for men, right? And then you're trying to take some of their changes because it looks good or you think it's working well, something like trust badges or whatever, but it's not talking to the female audience that's trying to buy skincare now at all, right? So even though something looks good or competitors doing it or it's working well for competitors or they had a great result with it, I would advise against just implementing it in your store. I mean, you can just take the test and also test it And if you're getting the same data, then go and implement it. But a lot of brands are just like cherry picking from what they're seeing on the market or competitors and applying it to your store. And then they're sitting there and wonder why they have a 1% conversion rate still, right? So this is like a huge stuff that I see a lot of brands doing. And then also a lot of stores are looking the same. And then it's not about having like a really good looking store or a really nice designy store, but rather about aligning your store with the values, beliefs, pain points of your target audience. Use exactly the words that they're using in the copywriting and resonate with them with the copywriting and emotionally, and that's how you convert them.
Good. Here maybe a quick question. Like in terms of like conversion rates, like what's the golden standard? Like what's the percentage which is like accepted as like being very good, or like the it's like a good conversion percentage, like 3%, 4%. Like what's the best average usual?
This is really based on the industry niche that you're in and also your average order value, because it's easy to have a 8% conversion rate with a $20 product, but it's hard to have an 8% conversion rate with a $200 AOV, right?
Let's maybe throw some cases at you, and then you can give us like the range.
Yeah, I could also give you some examples for clients without naming them. So,
yeah, go ahead.
So for example, we have a store that's at a 1 million. And also the scale is really important, right? So they had a 1 million scale, they have an average order value of 150, and then they have a conversion rate that's between 5 to 7%. We have another client that has a 1% conversion rate at a scale of like 300K with an average order value of 1.5K. Then we have other clients that have a 5% conversion rate at a 500K scale with a $110 AOV, right? So it's really based on the niches, based on the AOV, and based on like what scale you're at. But what we see, and a lot of AOVs fall into this, with a $80 to $120 AOV, you can get your conversion rate to a 5 to 7% at scale.
Gotcha. Sweet. Maybe what would be your advice? Maybe there's something that's on your mind that we haven't brought up or asked you about yet. What do you think our listeners should know about CRO, or running their e-commerce store?
I think the most important thing about CRO, and a lot of people overlook it or don't understand it, is that it's actually applying psychology to e-commerce, and rather understanding consumer psychology and how your target audience behaves and what makes them buy than some UX UI design changes. So it's not about taking trust badges and putting them on your page, but rather on a psychological level, understanding, for example, what trigger is it affecting now? Are we doing social proof here? Are we increasing their motivation? Or are we reducing their anxiety or fears? Or are we giving them more incentive? Or are we improving the value proposition, right? So I think this is like the biggest thing with CRO, when you start understanding that it's all based on consumer psychology and emotional intelligence, then you're going to level up your CRO game. And then, for all the great marketers, they know this with marketing as well. When they start looking out of the ads manager and into something like books like scientific advertising or consumer psychology or human biases or something else, they will understand it's all based on psychology. That's what like the top 1% of marketers do, right? Same with you guys for email marketing. It's not only based on like copywriting best practices and this is a great hook, this is a great call to action, this is a great body, but also really understanding, okay, how can we captivate the attention of this target audience, for example, women 25 years old? And how can we talk to them and how can we convert them, right? So same with scientific advertising, perfect example. And Viscap did this example at like the Geek at Barcelona. The principles of how people are interacting with marketing always stay the same. The medium changes, for example, from newspaper to radio to TV to computer to now phone, right? The medium changes, but the principles of how you talk to people and how to get their attention and how to make them buy always stay the same. And I think when you start focusing on like these underlying principles and psychological effects, then this will be a huge game changer for you.
Sweet. All right. I think we can take the podcast down to the wrap, unless Jacob maybe has some questions.
Let's do the wrap question maybe. So like a bit more of an interesting question for you. So if you jumped in a time machine and went to the future when you're 30 years old, like what's one piece of advice you would give to your 30-year-old self?
When me as like the 23-year-old version goes into the future to the 30-year-old version, and I have to tell it to the 30-year-old version.
What's
exactly.
something, maybe not even advice, what's something you want to tell them? What's something you want to remind them?
No, like advice. How could it be more successful, basically?
I think advice is I would literally say, tell them like, stay hungry, stay foolish, enjoy, and keep on going. Like, never stop. Because I could think that when you're like 30 years old and you have more success, you maybe take like a step back and you're getting bored a little bit. So this is what I would tell them. Kind of like kick them in the ass.
Get back to work, basically. Amazing. Perfect.
What would you do?
What I would do? I would... I don't know. I think I'd be a bit freaked out. I don't know. Maybe...
yourself punches you in the face.
But I don't know. I'd have to think a bit more about this. But I think the advice you gave, it applies to basically any age group. So basically, pinch yourself every time and get back to work. Crush it. So yeah.
Sweet. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. It was a great podcast. You had some amazing questions. Really interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
By the way, before we wrap up, where can people find you?
Best is Twitter. So just my first name, last name, Carl Weische. Just put it on Twitter. Most active there. Pushing the most content there. You can reach me via DM. I will respond. Sweet.
Well, all right. Thank you so much for hopping on. This is a nice episode. And yeah, take care.
See you. Bye-bye.
If you thought this episode was valuable, share with a friend that might find this information useful, and leave a 5-star review so we can reach more influential people and bring lessons back to you. Now, I'll see you in the next episode.